This week's Parsha is called Hayei Sarah, the life of Sarah, but it's also the Parsha in which she dies. And so chapter 23, the opening chapter of Hayei Sarah, focuses on Sarah's death and Abraham both mourning his wife and negotiating for the first purchase of land in the Promised Land, a cave, Ma'arat HaMachpelah, the cave of Machpelah, where he would not only bury her, but where he would later be buried as well as the other patriarchs and matriarchs except for Rachel. I want to just focus on one word of teaching tonight, and it's a verse that occurs right after that process of Abraham burying his wife. It's the first verse of chapter 24, and it reads as follows. Va'avraham zaken, and Abraham was now old, bayamim, coming of days. Va'adonai beirach et Avraham, and the ever-present one blessed Abraham, bakol, with all, with everything. And where I'm leading to in this short teaching is, what does it mean to be blessed with everything? The verse comes, as I noted, right after Abraham's burial of his beloved wife. And Rabbi Harold Kushner, in his commentary in our Eitz Chaim, suggests that with the loss of his wife, there was this moment of his feeling his own aging years, his own mortality, but more perhaps a quality of his own agedness amidst his mourning. Va'avraham zaken, and Abraham was old, bayamim, a coming of days, which seems to be redundant. If he was old, then he had a lot of coming of days. And so that is the opening for our rabbis to comment and to harmonize. One of those, and I'm still with Harold Kushner, is that the word zaken also means wise. For in our tradition, experience of life is the greatest source of deep wisdom. So as to say, Abraham was wise, a drawing, a coming from his days. And in fact, he'll cite a midrash, early comment of the rabbis of Israel of the early centuries of the Common Era, that Abraham was distinctive in his ability to grow and learn throughout his life. And so maybe what it means when it says that God blessed Abraham with bakol, with everything, that bakol is the capacity to learn throughout one's life, to draw from one's days lessons that engage us so that we only get, if you will, better with the years. V'Avraham zaken bayamim. My teacher, Rabbi Abraham Twersky, teaches another expression. Abraham was old, bayamim. He came with the days, and he understands that phrase, bayamim, to say that although there were many days, he had no regrets. And that is also a gift of life. Not that there weren't mistakes in Abraham's life, but he was able in this moment of his wife's passing to look over his own life and to know he was advanced in years, but to know that his life was bakol, was good in all its ways. And that's what it may mean. Barech et Avraham b'kol, that God blessed Abraham with everything. He blessed him with the capacity to see his life as good, despite setbacks, despite mistakes, that he had no regrets. And a last aspect, and that is Rashi, the great commentator of France, 1040 to 1105, will point out that the word bakol in gematria, when you give every letter and number, is the same numerical word as Bain, son, 52. So as to say, he was advanced in years, but he had the blessing of a son. And indeed, it is at this point that there's a transition to the rest of chapter 24, Abraham turning his attention to his son, to Isaac, sending his servant off to find a wife for his ben, for his son. And so that Bakol, he blessed him with a son, becomes the segue to the rest of the chapter. Interestingly, in the Talmud, they understand Bakol as a daughter. And they say, in Baba Batra, I believe, that Bakol was the name of his daughter, so that although he was old, he was blessed with a daughter. Now for later, so I'll pause there, whether it's a son or a daughter, what endures for many who are so blessed with children is the legacy, the sense, as Carl shared tonight about his namesake, the sense of a continuity into the future when you're blessed in this physical way to have children. But for the mystics, the concept of bakol, of a daughter, is not necessarily for a physical daughter, but the daughter is Shechina, the feminine presence of life. And so what does it mean that Abraham was blessed bakol? He was blessed with the capacity to see God's presence, that feminine presence of Shechina, in all aspects of his life, in the range of the years that he lived. And so there are three different aspects of what does it mean to be blessed with all. It means to be blessed with all as a capacity to grow throughout all one's years, ba b'yamim. It's the capacity to know that even though life has difficulties, it is good, and one can live without regrets. And last, that when one is blessed with children, that is a legacy. But more, when one is blessed to see bakol as the enduring presence of God in all, one lives each life as a blessing. And indeed, for Abraham, that was what God had called on him to be. Ribono Shalom, Master of the universe, each of us, may we see our lives each day as an opportunity for growth. May we grow without regrets for the mistakes of the past. And may we be so blessed to see, if we are blessed with children, a future of continuity of those qualities and more. May they and we see bakol, God's presence in all. Amen. Amen.